and then we'll get right into the software development optimization demo. So first of all, when you look at software development and delivery in general, there are four really big challenges that are inherent in any software development delivery process that organizations are doing today. One is just security, right? Keeping your applications secure, but keeping your pipeline secure so that some folks can't inadvertently go in and start changing code, right? The second one is quality, right? As companies, actually, I'm going to move to velocity first, right? So companies say are moving faster and faster, trying to get more features and software out to their customers, into the applications that you're using, because customers are always asking for more stuff, right? In their applications. With that comes a third challenge is as you're trying to move quickly, sometimes quality suffers, right? So trying to maintain a velocity that makes sense for the team while also maintaining a level of quality for your users are two big challenges, right? It's getting hard to move very quickly, yet still maintain quality in the code that you're deploying into the applications that you're using, right? So making sure that you're automating manual steps and obviously always looking at the process to optimize it can help you increase velocity, but also making sure that the testing is done, right? And you've got metrics and analytics to make sure that your quality thresholds are still being met as you're deploying more code. Can help with that. And then lastly, collaboration, right? So when you look at, especially what's happened in the last 2 years, where teams are decentralized, they are distributed, they're all over the world, it makes it really hard for these engineering teams to work closely together to make sure that they're all working towards a common goal. So, when you look at software development and delivery in any organization, these are kind of the four big challenges that they're trying to meet head on. And when you do meet those challenges head on and you overcome those challenges, and we know organizations can be really successful. So when you look at kind of the four key metrics around DORA and the State of DevOps report from last year, these are the numbers that are being achieved by some of the highest performing or the elite performing organizations out there when it comes to software development and delivery, right? They are deploying 973 times more than other organizations. They are also 6,500 times faster in their time from commit to deploy for new features or changes. They are also 6,500 times faster in recovering from issues and incidents, and they're 3 times lower in their deploys breaking other things, right, or breaking changes. So again, and I'm not saying that every organization should be achieving these numbers, but you should look at what your teams are doing today, benchmark it at these four metrics, right? So deployment frequency, lead time, mean time to recover, and change failure rate, and get a foundational level of what your team is doing today, and then incrementally try to improve, right? And get to a point where you feel your organization should be for being a great performer or an elite performer. So again, I think we all know this, right? When you look at software development and delivery today, it's complicated, it's fragmented. There are different owners, different tasks that have to get done for different teams across that process, right? And to add even more convolution to it, there's a whole bunch of tools that are being used to do that. And these tools are disconnected, they have siloed data. So it gets really hard to get a good visibility and insights into what's happening across your software development delivery process today, right? And those lead into like kind of a one-click down level of challenges, right? So we know different teams in the same organization are probably building and delivering software differently. We know that the DevOps toolchain is fragmented, right? Again, data silos that like I just mentioned. And because teams are distributed today and they are spread out, and the tools are different and the data is different, collaboration becomes difficult across the teams. And then that leads to lack of visibility within the software delivery process itself and how productive the teams are doing, or being. And then just, I've talked to companies before who've tried to do this, tried to pull the data together, try to get those visibility, those insights, those analytics, to get some sense of how the teams are doing across the organization and their software delivery. And it's really hard. It takes a lot of time and effort. It's costly. And then you've got to maintain and manage it going forward. So if a new tool comes in, you got to figure out how to get the data in. What does that data mean? How do I render that data? And how do I present that data so that it's meaningful across all the other data sets? But luckily, Sumo Logic has done that today, right? We have the platform to be able to bring in all the data from the different tools in the DevOps toolchain and that ecosystem. We can enrich it, we normalize it, we democratize it, right? To a point where teams across the organization, no matter where they are, can access it. They understand what the metrics and analytics mean, and they know how to take action, right? So then they can start improving their release velocity, they can start improving their quality and their security. And because all the teams have access to the same data, collaboration can improve as well. So let's get into the demo. All right, so the first thing I'm going to show you, so once you log into Sumo Logic, you'll have the software development organization main folder here, and you can get access to your door metrics overview, right? So this is, you've gone in, you've connected all the tools, you've ingested the data into Sumo Logic and into the software development optimization solution here. And you've got your door metrics. And these are the high-level door metrics across all the teams, all the services. And you can see here, and this is a demo environment, so please bear with me if some numbers don't make sense, but it's, they are there. So again, you can see from a Sumo Logic standpoint, we're deploying 470 times over the last 14 days. Our lead time for changes is 33 hours. You can see that it's going up. So as a product manager or an engineering team leader, I may want to kind of look at what's going on and why lead times are going up. Are people on vacation? People out sick? Is there something happening in the pipeline or the builds or the PRs that are slowing us down? So this would tell me to start looking into why our lead time is going up. Our change failure rate is actually really good. You can see it's in the green. It's only 9%. And it takes about 30 minutes for us to restore any service issues, which is good. So you can see that, our deploys are in the green, our time to restore is in the green, our change failure rate is in the green, but our lead time for changes is in the yellow, right? Again, because it's going up. So again, that's probably an area that I want to focus on in general. Going a step deeper is our pipeline overview. And this gives you deeper insights into your pipelines across different services, environments, builds, etc. So when you look at what's happening here, you can just see an overall pipeline execution trend. Okay, you're about just under 2,000 pipeline executions over the last 14 days. But here's some interesting things, right? Here's some alerts. And this tells me what are some of the top 10 services that are causing alerts, right? So the database engine and the DB engine are accounting for most of them. And I can then start looking into my PagerDuty tickets for the alerts based on the service. I can also look at my deploys and the status of my deploys. I can see which ones have failed versus which ones have succeeded. I have more fails than successes. Might want to dig into that a little bit. And then I can also look at the last 10 failed deploys and what they were. It looks like a lot of them were tests and some staging, but there are some production ones in there that failed. If I wanted to do a slightly deeper dive here on the failed, I can look at all the logs, the error logs and error signatures, if I wanted to. And then on my builds, I can look at the build status, which ones were successful, which ones failed, which ones were aborted. And again, I can do a deep dive into all the logs and signatures that were associated with any failed builds or aborted builds or whatever I wanted to look into. I can also look at the last 10 failed builds. And if I click on the build, it sends me right to the Git repository for that build. So again, I can dig in and find out what's going on with that problem, with that failed build. And then I also have the status of my pull requests, which ones have been created, which ones have been merged and reviewed versus any that have been declined, right? And I've got 50 that have been declined, so I might want to understand why that's happened. Again, when builds fail, when PRs decline, or they take too long to be reviewed or merged, that's creating bottlenecks and blockages for other engineering, not only your engineering team, but probably other engineering teams who are waiting for the work to flow down to them or over to them. So being able to find out what's causing those blockages and those bottlenecks, alleviating and fixing those blockages and bottlenecks to keep work flowing is key. And then lastly, I can also look at issues. And I can find out, what were the last 10 critical issues, and what the project name was, and then dig into there. So now let's take a deeper dive into the door metrics and the pipeline monitoring metrics. So first of all, I'll go right into deployment frequency of the door metrics. So this gives you a deeper dive into the door metrics, because now you can start looking at what service environments are making up this 1,000 events. And you can start seeing what's going on there. Right, so now you can see your average deploys per week. You can see your deploys by repository. And you can also do a comparison around the environment name or service, et cetera. Which ones failed, which one were successes, the count. And again, anything that pops up as an anomaly for you gives you the ability to say, hey, maybe I should look into that because it's probably could be slowing us down. If you look at deploys over time, actually, they're kind of trending down. So I want to dig into that, especially between the last couple of days, and find out what's going on there. And also looking at our successes and failed deploys. Our successes, our failures seem to be outnumbering or spiking at certain areas versus our successes. So I'd want to kind of figure out, again, the last few days really is something I'd probably want to dig into a little bit and find out what's going on there. On the lead time, you can start seeing more granular lead times, right? So the minimum lead time, average lead time, medium, and maximum. And you can see, for us here at Sumo, we have our definitions of what elite, high, medium, and low mean. And right now, our average and our medium lead time are on the high side, yet obviously our maximum lead time is really low at 12,000 hours. I think that's something I would really want to look into. But you can also start looking at lead time by team. So this gives you an idea of what teams are performing better than other teams. If certain teams are slower or just are lagging in their lead time, again, this could end up being a bottleneck for you and your team or other teams that are waiting for work to flow to them. And again, as an engineering manager or even director or leader, I may want to dig into this a little bit, find out what's going on. Are they missing people? Are their resources just too small for the project size that was given to them? And again, it's causing lead times to go up. And so I'd want to investigate that and try to figure out a way maybe to smooth things out, be more efficient here. I can also look at pipeline duration in minutes. And I can also look at repos with the slowest lead time. Again, things that are slowing us down, I'd want to look into, right? And is it an anomaly? And it can fix itself, or is it something that's more serious that I need to kind of intervene and figure out with the team managers what's going on and help remove that bottleneck or that blockage to keep work flowing. Again, when you look at average lead time by repos, again, you can see a spike that's going up. Again, these are things that would cause me to start looking at certain things, certain areas with like payments, the Kubernetes, or even the blue chip backend, right, which seems to be causing, a higher percentage of the lead time by repos. So again, where are things that I can help become more efficient, right? All right, so then let's look at change. We'll go mean time to restore first. So again, this is a more granular look at the mean time to restore service. We're doing okay at just under 30 minutes or just under half hour. It's pretty steady. It's slightly on the rise, but I don't think that's anything to really worry about. But what I do see here is when I'm looking at P1 incidents by service, I'm seeing that the database engine and the DB engine are the ones that are causing the bigger spikes here. So again, so I would want to investigate these two services specifically to find out what's happening and why there are spikes happening here with incidents. And then lastly, on the change failure rate, again, you can see our 9.32%, which is pretty good. It's kind of steady and then kind of trending down, and it's gone way down for the last few days, which is great. But again, this gives me an idea of just what are the top services that have P1 incidents. Again, you can see the DB engine here. And the top 5 alerting services, again, DB engine and database engine, which you saw on the last screen. So again, you can see how things correlate across. If I wanted to filter the time frame, I can do that. I can do it from the last 15 minutes all the way to the last 30 days. And then let's do a deeper dive into the pipelines. So let's start with alerts. So as even an engineer, a developer, practitioner, some of these things are really interesting to me, right? Because I'm the one who's getting work done. Well, I need to code. I don't want things blocking my workflow, right? Or sitting here waiting for work to come to me because some other team is blocked. So this gives me an idea of alerts created versus closed, right? And I can see what the priority is. And if I click on the 6 that have the high priority, I can then click into the logs and the error logs and do more troubleshooting to help resolve those issues. Find out what the alerts are and then act accordingly, right? I can also look what's causing the alerts, right, by service. Again, you can see the recommendation engine, the DB engine, and the database engine are causing the top 3. And by team, this tells me what teams might be performing a little better or not, because some of their stuff might be having more issues than others, right? Again, gives me an idea of where to focus my time to help the teams become just better at what they're doing so that we are more efficient, but we're also deploying better software faster out to our customers. And then I have a list of the top high priority alerts, right? By the service. Again, you can see the database engine, the DB engine here, loyalty engine, that are the main cause of the issues here. And then high priority alerts by service. Again, you can see the DB engine and the database engine that are spiking, that are causing most of these. On the builds, again, this gives me a really good idea of what's happening from a builds perspective. How many total builds in the last 24 hours? What were the results of those builds? Which ones were unstable? Which ones were aborted and failed, right? We have 2,200 builds that failed. Why? I'd want to kind of dig into that a little bit because, again, what happens when builds fail, things stop, which means engineers waiting for work are still waiting for work, and that gets expensive and slows things down. You can see the builds by team, and this kind of helps you understand, if I have 1,000 builds by the team, do I have enough resources on that team to make sure that things are moving as they should? I can look at my successes versus failures for my builds over time. Pretty steady, but again, our failures are outnumbering our successes at every day. Might want to dig into that a little bit as to why. And then I can start, and I do that by looking at the last 10 failed builds. And again, if you click on the build number, that'll get you to your Git repository for that build and get more detail into what's happening there. But you can see DB engine, right? Again, things that are causing, that you've seen throughout the demo, where things are issues are popping up or failures are happening and things are slowing down for that particular service. You can also look at what are my successful builds. All right. And you can see DB Engine shows up a couple times here, which is great, but it seems like DB Engine shows up more here as failures than anything else. All right. On deployments, this gives me kind of a one-click down onto how we're doing from a deployment standpoint. In the last 24 hours, we've deployed 240 times. That's great. The problem is, 152 of them failed versus 88. Sorry. Yeah, versus 88 that were successful. So again, probably want to look into this a little bit as to why. You can see that the prod environment has deployed more. And then you can also do some comparisons by service if you wanted to do that. Again, visibility here it's all about visibility, right? Having the information in front of you in one place so that you can see what's happening across your software development delivery process, find the issues or anomalies that are causing you things to slow down or quality to decrease, and then be able to find out why and take appropriate action to fix it, right? That's the key here. You can see your last deployment summary, and then you can see your successes versus failed. Again, right? Pretty steady on your successes, some spikes in your failures, but not too bad. But again, here, 24, 25, 26, particularly on the 25th, might want to figure out what's going on there. And then you can also always click into your commits to find out, again, to get more detail, especially on the failed ones. On your issues, this tells me of the code that's being created, where the issues, where are they falling, right? Which ones were fixed, which ones were closed, created, opened, and closed or reopened, which is not good. I'd want to look at by type, so service request, task versus a bug. Probably want to look at the bugs, which isn't too bad. There's only 2 here. And then by priority, right? We only have 1 that's high priority, but we do have 10 that are major. So would want to probably look at that a little bit and find out what's going on there and find out who's responsible. And then you can look at which projects seem to have the highest number of issues. Help desk kind of makes sense, right? You can look at your trends over time, and then you can actually take an average time taken, right, to close. App dev seems to be taking a long time to close. So again, could be something that I want to look into here to find out what's causing the issues, why it's taking so long to troubleshoot and fix them. I can also do that here by looking at the top 10 issues that take the longest to close. Again, some of these might be not very high priority, could be just regular stuff, but there could be some high priority things here that, that are really important to fix and fix quickly, yet they're taking a while to close. Pipeline stage monitoring. So again, as a developer, this gives me a good idea of what's happening in the pipelines, right? Which ones, what the execution looks like from account perspective and type. Which ones are, failed stages, which is really interesting over the last 24 hours. And then the duration in seconds and the average stage duration in seconds. And then I can also look at some of the slowest pipeline stages in seconds, right? And start looking at, if this is really, some of these are really a priority, I can dig into it a little bit more and find out what's going on there. Again, you get a list of your summaries by number, by stage, and by status. So again, looking at successes versus failed, why, you can click in and figure it out. And then lastly is pull requests. So along with builds and pipelines, right, and things breaking in that area, again, causing slowdowns. Oh, what's going on? To do anything. You can see how many pull requests were merged by branch. You'll also be able to see time to close and the repos by average time to close. Again, these help you find out which ones, if their PR is taking too long to merge, to review and merge, that's a bottleneck. That's a blockage. So you should be able to find out who's responsible for that and fix it and unblock it so that work keeps flowing. All right. That is it for now. Stop sharing. Are there any questions? Nothing in the chat? And we're just, so I'm going to give it, I'll be on for the next 3 minutes. If anyone has questions, feel free to just put them in the chat. I'm happy to answer them. If I can't answer them, then I will find the answer and get it to you. All right, I'm going to stop the recording.